my lunch break, I got a call from the police station. They asked if I owned a pet turtle. I told them I did. The officer's tone immediately hardened. "You're in serious trouble. You need to get down to the station right now." I just stood there, phone in hand, completely bewildered. It's just a turtle. What kind of trouble could I possibly be in? When I rushed into the station, the detective slapped a set of crime scene photos onto the table in front of me. "A child in your apartment building was struck on the head by a falling turtle. He has a fractured skull and intracranial bleeding. He's in the ICU right now. Our preliminary investigation indicates it was your red-eared slider. The family is demanding $200,000 in compensation." My legs gave out from under me, and I nearly collapsed right there on the floor. When the officer led me into the mediation room, the couple was already waiting. The moment the woman saw me, she completely lost it, lunging at me like a wild animal. The police had to physically restrain her. My mind was still reeling. The officer turned on a monitor and began playing the security footage. On the screen, children were chasing each other in the sun, drenched courtyard, their bright laughter echoing as if it could pierce right through the glass. Suddenly, a dark shape plummeted from the sky. Adults rarely look up, for children lost in the bliss of their game. It was an impossibility. There was no time to react. The boy at the front of the pack had just reached the building's entrance when the dark shape slammed directly onto the crown of his head. In the next instant, he crumpled like a puppet with its strings cut. Blood gushed from the back of his head, blooming into a dark crimson stain on the concrete. The officer pushed the photos closer. The turtle's shell was shattered from the impact, blood seeping from its mouth and nose. "The boy has a comminuted skull fracture with severe internal bleeding," the officer said, his voice grim. "He's in the ICU, and it's touch and go whether he'll even wake up. If we hadn't confirmed you weren't home at the time, ruling out assault, you wouldn't be in mediation right now. You'd be in a holding cell." I stared blankly at the couple across the table. The woman's sobs were raw and ragged, and the man's knuckles were white as he clenched his fists. Their son, barely old enough for elementary school, was now fighting for his life because of a freak accident. The doctor had told them his chances of survival were less than 30%. Guilt and terror coiled around my heart like a venomous snake. I had just bought a turtle. How could it have nearly cost a child his life? The officer tapped the table. "The family's compensation request is straightforward. Medical expenses, incurred future care costs, and damages for pain and suffering." I flipped through the thick stack of medical bills. The initial craniotomy alone was over $20,000. The daily ICU costs were astronomical, starting at $2,000 a day, not including specialized medications and monitoring fees. And the worst part was, we didn't know if or when the boy would ever wake up. "The family is asking for an initial sum of $200,000, the officer continued. "And that's just for now. If the boy suffers any long-term effects, you'll be responsible for all future rehabilitation costs." $200,000, the number screamed in my head. I was just a regular person with a 9-to-5 job, making maybe $2,500 a month after taxes. Even if I starved myself and worked until I was 80, I'd never save that much money. My hands trembled as I opened my banking app. My entire life savings consisted of the $1,800 I'd painstakingly scrimped together. That money was for my mom's knee surgery. She'd been suffering for years, the pain so bad on rainy days that she'd break out in a cold sweat. I had promised myself I'd get her the surgery this year so she could finally sleep through the night. Now, not only was that impossible, but I was suddenly saddled with a crushing, life-altering debt. My mother's pain would have to wait. Forever, probably. The officer sighed. "Look, kid, I advise you to accept the settlement. If this goes to court, you will lose. You won't go to jail, but the judgment from the court will be even higher. The family is only willing to mediate because they desperately need the money for the surgery right now." Click the link in my bio to get the full story for free.